Hello, hello. The doc is back, and welcome back to another chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 248. It's been a while. Technically, there's a lot to recap, but I'm not going to do any of that. Only important part for this chapter is after Higuruma sacrificed himself and tossed the executioner's blade over to Yuji, Yuji grabs it and he locks in. He's like, I got the sneak attack on him, right? He has the sword right behind Sukuna's back. Sukuna's a little bit surprised. And at the beginning of this chapter, we see he misses. Sukuna hits him with the dodge. The executioner's blade disappears. And Sukuna then proceeds to get, a little counter punch on him. I know some people are kind of like, I know for a fact there's going to be a camp of people who will be like, Gege has once again given Sukuna plot armor to survive. But, anybody who's saying that, especially in this chapter, I'm like, come on. For one, let's just be so real. You thought it was a good idea for the story that the way Yuji kills Sukuna is that he uses the executioner's blade to kill him, which actually isn't a bad idea. But more so importantly, you think it's going to happen now? I genuinely don't think anybody truly thought that he was going to die here. This is like the least ass pulley thing to ever happen with Sukuna, because him dodging it is like the most reasonable, most smooth brain take. That's just he's fast. We've already seen that the nigga's faster than most of the other people on the battlefield at the moment. If there was anyone to be able to just dodge a point blank attack, it would be him. It really would. But nonetheless, after punching Yuji away, he then proceeds to follow this up with a slash. Yuji does block the slash, and Sukuna makes some observations. First, he notices that, hey, Ui and Kirara are picking up the dead body of Higuruma. He then presumes that Ui probably has instant teleportation, which makes sense. It's heavily hinted at that Ui had some kind of super speed movement transportation ability. Him having teleportation seems simple enough. And that they've been using his ability to get rid of the dead and also help people who were recently injured go get some healing and then come back with Shoko. But he also makes the observation that, Shoko's low level beyond having RCT. She can't heal like that. And also healing others rather than yourself just isn't as potent as it is when you're doing it on yourself. So if you get your arm chopped off, you could probably heal your own arm back, but she might not be able to, or at least she might not be able to do it at the same level that you could if you had RCT, right? Then Sukuna makes the observation that, if that's the case, then the only way Yuji could have healed that gut check he got, I believe last chapter, is if he had his own RCT, confirming that Yuji, big boxer, left, right, good night, is now a RCT user, officially a part of that camp. The time skip was worth it, right? So going on from here, Sukuna's basically like, yep, I'm gonna have to kill this guy. Yep. But unlike, his usual stuff, he's like, damn, just kind of, I feel a little bit angry, irritated. Usually this is kind of just a for fun thing. It's just I'm gonna kill somebody because they're being annoying. But he has a little bit more emotion in it. And even Yuji notices, not that he has emotion, but that Sukuna's not immediately trying to blitz him and instead sits standing here with his hands on his hip thinking about stuff, right? And so then we get a little bit of a Sukuna inner monologue where he's basically affirming to himself that my way of going about life is I do whatever the hell I want. I don't care what anyone else thinks. If they got a problem with it, that's their problem and they will get cut up for that. And he will continue to do whatever he wants until he dies. That is it. That is the only purpose. And that everybody has their own plans and ideals. And the reason why he doesn't have those things is because he just finds them gross. Because he's just the strongest. Now, at least that's what we assume. Obviously, there could be like a wider backstory where he wasn't the strongest for his time and so on and so forth. That's why he doesn't have ideals. But as of now, as far as we know, he's always been the strongest. He doesn't have ideals because he's just like, that's beneath me. That's for the weakers, the peasants. Couldn't be me, the cursed holy one, right? But he says the reason why he's feels different now versus 1,000 years ago, where people similar to the people here who want to kill him showed up, is that he was attached to that brat. In other words, Yuji. Since their souls were right next to each other and, you know, they were kind of commingled for a while. I don't even think it had been a year that they were together, but, you know, it's a very different feeling, I guess is the best way to put it, to have like two souls inhabiting the same body and be like so closely connected, right? He's now not now realized, but basically this experience, along with it being Yuji, someone who, as Sukuna says in a second, has an almost indomitable soul, despite being not built like Sukuna or Gojo or even Akashimo. It's basically made it so that then it's like this intimate knowledge of the fact that his ideals allow him to have an indomitable will despite not being strong enough to potentially even meet his ideals, irritates him as someone who lacks ideals but has the strength to basically do whatever he wants. And so Sukuna declares that he will mince their ideals to bits. As not only that happens, but a new rule is added by a late Kenjaku. Yes, I said late. That man, woman brain is dead. The new rule: Sukuna's in charge of the merger. That's basically the rule. I mean, they kind of explain. It's like a Megami. Megami is in charge of the merger, technically, but Megami's body's been body snatched by Sukuna, so Sukuna's really in charge. Now, of course, this does let credence to the idea that, you know, Megami comes back and he gets to, you know, I don't know, cancel the merger or something. Potentially. But as of now, Sukuna's in charge. Also, Sukuna eats, like, this weird ball thing. I guess the merger? Or maybe the control panel for the merger? We don't really know. I'm sure it'll be relevant later, but as of now, he just eats something. Not really important. And Kusakabe kind of like, well, he has a little bit of a mental thing where he's thinking about how, like, you know, Sukuna might not commit jujutsu terrorism and summon the merger to, like, destroy all of Japan and all that stuff. But turns out he was a little bit ahead of himself, because Sukuna immediately says, you know what, I'm gonna obliterate Yuji. I'm going to kill all the other color game slayers, bring in the merger, and then squabble with that. So, you know, damn. Spoke too soon. Well, not spoke, but thought too soon, Kusakabe. You shouldn't have jinxed it. But then, my goat, Big Ogotsu, pulls up, blows up the battlefield, and apologizes to his kohai. Sorry I'm late. And then proceeds to clash with Sukuna. That's how my goat pulls up. W number, I believe 7. W number 7 is going for W number 8. Let's go. Sukuna's days are numbered. Right? But Sukuna, you know, ever confident, he taunts Yuta. He's like, hey, you better have a good fight. Struggle as hard as you can, because the moment you lose, it's up for your whole gang. But Rika's like, whoa, don't talk crazy to the boy. He's him. And Sukuna, very humbly, it's not humble, greets the Queen of Curses. End of chapter. Overall, in my opinion, I quite enjoyed this chapter. I think that there has been a little bit of discourse, people saying that, like, oh, the chapter is a bunch of yapping. But I think this is important, because Sukuna doesn't get a lot of characterization. It also adds a little bit of an explanation for why does Sukuna specifically not like Yuji. It also hints at the idea that there's a backstory to Sukuna where he's met someone similar to Yuji before, someone who fought against him or wanted to kill him, who, despite getting bodied, tortured, abused, battered, the works, right, would continue to get up and rise to the occasion to try to meet Sukuna. Despite Sukuna being indomitably strong, this person's soul, their ideals, allowed them to keep getting up and keep trying to beat Sukuna, which irritates him. Probably, my going theory is that probably this person previously 1,000 years ago who had this kind of willpower made Sukuna change, or maybe it didn't make Sukuna change, but like it left a lasting impression on Sukuna in a way where he was kind of forced to like acknowledge them in a situation where he really didn't. Versus like someone like a Gojo, where Gojo kind of stands in a similar area as Sukuna. This person, like Yuji, stands opposed to Sukuna. So this is like the antithesis of who he is, and so killing him is kind of like affirms his ideals, which is, you know, do whatever the hell he wants. But that person stood against him in some way, shape, or form. Whether I assume they didn't beat him in a fight, probably. But no matter what, this person basically, even in their death, probably stared at Sukuna with pure contempt and ready to go another round. And even though they lost, it basically changed Sukuna forever, or damaged Sukuna forever, something like that. And so, seeing someone reminiscent of this person, which Sukuna has already mentioned that Yuji is in some way a spitting image, some kind of like reference, or brings back memories or nostalgia of this person long dead, that is probably the case. Probably. Still theory, because I mean, he doesn't outright say that, like, oh, you remind me of this guy specifically who did this. He doesn't say that, but it's kind of implied, you know, throughout his various mentions of the Heian era 1,000 years ago, etc. But other than that, I think this is great on that part. I think Yuji having reverse curse technique, it was needed. It was also not heavily implied, but it was kind of like guessed earlier, because I mean, again, Yuji was indeed gut checked, and if he wasn't going to die from half his adamant being minced, then I mean, I don't know, he was gonna not be strong enough to fight Sukuna. I mean, you know, as it stands, I don't think Sukuna's taking any damage. So yeah, we're gonna need full health people right now. Still haven't got an explanation for the arms thing. Not a single explanation for the arms yet, but that is okay. I'm sure it's coming. We're now getting introduced to Yuji. Yuji is directly combating with Sukuna. If there's ever a time to explain his stuff, his abilities, what he's learned, etc., it's gonna be in the next coming chapters, like 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So looking forward to that. Other than that, everything as well. The only other interesting part I would say for this chapter is the Ui stuff. And people are theorizing that maybe Higuruma is not dead, to which I would say maybe. I mean, Gojo probably most definitely dead. I mean, he was split in half a while ago. Though his body has disappeared earlier, that doesn't really imply that he's going to come back. Also, again, the same issue remained a while ago when he first died and people were like, oh, he's going to come back. Is that, well, if he comes back, he would theoretically probably get one shot. Now, he could dodge the slashes, but it would still come down to, well, Sukuna already has the beat down packed on Gojo. Gojo, unless he just inexplicably gets stronger and gains new abilities, he just doesn't have anything new to offer that would trip up Sukuna. Besides maybe like showing up out of nowhere, but yeah, I still don't think he's coming back, but Higuruma might. Higuruma just might. Might. Heavy might. But other than that, looking forward to the next chapter. I'm seeing a Yuta and Yuji, 2 MCs versus the main antagonist. I'm seeing a huge moment. I've also heard news that the editor for JJK has basically said that the next chapter, the chapter that comes after this break, will bang out of control. It will be the most surprising. People are theorizing that Sukuna's gonna eat somebody. Next chapter is when he eats somebody. I'm hoping it's not Yuta. I'm praying on everything that it's not Yuta. Let it be anybody else. Eat Yuji. Leave Yuta alone. All right. His win streak must stay pure. His win streak must stay pure. This is my agenda, by the way. But other than that, that is all. Thank you for watching the video. I will be making my weeklies starting today. And catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe and watch the videos on the right. Other than that, the doc is out. Bye.